quite a few years late. No, my wanted to be a piece of shit. And then he wanted to get a hold of me years later after stabbing me in the back, and he wants me to take some stuff down for him. Not a chance in hell, Brian Schwartz. You help me get that information into the courts, and you help me get an honest court date, and you speak up. That's it. There is no hiding your name from anything. Why is it that people want their stuff taken down in exchange for doing what they should have done to begin with? And then, of course, do they keep their word? No. No, they don't keep their word. Why would anybody keep their word to me? They don't have to. They just call me mentally ill and say, oh, it's his fault. Oh, I didn't do nothing wrong. I didn't do nothing wrong. Why would you set boundaries after you walked over all of mine? After we set boundaries, and then you walked all over them. Yeah, no, dude, we're not going to reset the boundaries 5 years later to suit you and take down the crappy things that you did, good or bad. That's one of the things about fighting for human rights. First thing I got to do is establish that I am a human being and that I have rights. My dad wants to be a doucher, that's on him. My toe hurts for me, right? I should turn this can around. It's weird walking with it like that. Now, of course, this is a message that he sent in 2022. That's last year. Because he was such a swell feller. I was in Hood River. I was having issues there with the cops. There's a guy there who decided to put some drugs in a drink that he brought me, and that wasn't cool. And that's when my dad decided to get a hold of me and literally waste an entire week of my time with BS. After an entire week of his BS, him not listening to a thing I was saying. I mean, it's not like I was speaking French. I don't speak any French. Well, hardly any French. But of course, the guy had his own ideas. It's going to be done his way. He was not going to listen to anybody else. He knows better than everybody else. And that's just how it is. Well, guess what? When it comes to my life, I know better than everyone else. I know what I'm living through better than anyone else.
Yeah. If you go up because it's a triple door. Yeah. And you got a face thing right now.
Of course, my dad wanted to type to me about sending me some money, didn't he? Well, that would be nice, sure. But at what price? All these people who procrastinated, wasted my time, and they want to get back a hold of me after they threw tantrums like 5-year-olds. Did everything they could to destroy my ability to show the truth, to have resources enough to even take care of myself, to pawn off on me things that, well, it probably wasn't a good idea to do it that way, but I had to do it that way, now didn't I? We're going to do it your way. We're going to do it Shannon's drunk way. We're going to do it Brian Schwartz's, well, controlling way. That's what it all comes down to. Whether it's money or rape, it's all about power and control. A lot of people like to feel powerful. My dad feels powerful in his own house, and rightly so, it's his house. He should be allowed to feel powerful in his own house. However, if he's going to be a tyrant, that's on him, and I don't have to stick around. If he's going to illegally imprison me, then, well, he's going to have to get out of my way, because I'm not just going to stand there and be illegally imprisoned. I'll make a really loud noise. That whole imprison me thing. It's not a happening thing. It's not okay. There's a lot of people that made me do desperate things just because I'm a guy. Like, never in a million years would they make a woman go through that. But as a guy, well, it's easier for them to look the other way than it is to look at the evidence or help the victim turn it in. A male can't be a victim, right? Oh, how dare you say victim? You should say survivor. Potato, potato. Not all victims survive it, just so you know. Not all victims survive it. You might want to write that down. That was a popular saying 20 years ago, wasn't it? Write that down. So my dad, for almost a week and a half, wanted to mess around with a $200 that he sent to Nebraska or Colorado or something. Dude didn't even know where I was at. Didn't even try to find out where I was at. His messages were all about taking stuff down and not mentioning him. Whew! Too late for that, Brian Schwartz. Too late for that. Long after Brian Schwartz is dead and buried and in the ground, people are going to be able to look up his name and see what a POS he is. Where he used to live, where he went to school. And of course, maybe we could ask him how much he enjoyed prison. Well, worth a try. It's gotten a little bit warm today. I can sure use a soda pop. Soda pops are only $1, and yes, I'm too broke for that dollar. Ooh, very hot. My dad, his crap might be seemingly innocent, but the reality is he wants me to take down evidence that shows that he went out of his way to intentionally affect my finances in retaliation for being honest. I'm pretty used to that. It's pretty easy to retaliate against me if I tell the truth. Well, it was a lot easier before I could take screenshots. Started to learn how to do some of this technological crap. I'm gonna have to walk over by McDonald's and sit down and fly a sign. Try to make at least something to live on. The thing is that you can see in the messages between my dad and I, first of all, he's not addressing any of my issues. He's not listening to a thing I have to say. And all these messages, what he's focused on, the only thing he's focused on is getting his name off the internet. I'm not focused on getting my name off the internet. There's zero chance of that. What I'm focused on is showing the truth. If my dad wants to be a douchebag about that, that's all on him. If he's really this Christian he's pretending to be now, this Christian that did not exist when I was growing up. Now he's a Christian, apparently. Well, what does he believe about repenting? Is he gonna repent? I don't believe in his God. I repent. Maybe you guys don't understand what that word means or what it entails. Professing by mouth. Well, you think that's right before you die? You say, oh God, I'm sorry I was such a doucher. I'm not going to give any details, but I was a doucher. Let me into heaven, please. I'm afraid of Hades. Kind of entertaining, isn't it? Or no? Maybe you're like me and you find that kind of stuff revolting. Or you're confused about how a God that loves us all would create a lake of fire to torture us in forever and ever. That doesn't seem very loving. Oh my God, you got horny? All eternity in a lake of fire. A lake of fire. We'll say it in our southern nerdy voice. Meanwhile, I'm not southern. I was born in Nebraska. My dad was born in Nebraska. We were both born in the same exact hospital. Problem we got here is that my dad didn't want to focus on any of the issues he could have helped me with. Right there. I was in Oregon. He was in Washington State. He even at one point wrote or typed to me about he was going to come drive and see me. No, he wasn't. He didn't even know where the hell I was at. Didn't bother to ask where I was at. Apparently, he'd sent money to a different state entirely because he still didn't care where I was at. Like, dude, instead of typing at me and trying to fucking blackmail me, or not blackmail, trying to bribe me and taking that stuff down, how about you stop digging a hole and instead of focusing on you, we focusing on actually doing what you should have done all the way back in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. How about you try being a real father, you son of a bitch? Why don't you try listening to your son instead of blaming him for being abused, you piece of shit? We had terms before. You broke the terms and then wanted to whine like a mule and did everything that you could to help my predators. No, Brian Schwartz, we're not playing Let's Make a Deal. We already played Let's Make a Deal. You didn't keep your end of the bargain. Instead, you insisted that we do it your way because you're the one in charge. You're the one who has something. You're the one who wasn't ripped off of everything that you had. That's right. My dad ended up in prison for a different reason than I did. I was in prison for standing up to the local police and child molesters in Chapel, Nebraska. My dad was in prison for selling an illegal AR-15 and for 38 counts of cocaine possession with intent to sell. So, yeah, that's pretty significant. I was in there for telling on bad people, for fighting for our rights. Oh, y'all want me to shut up about our rights? No. Not a chance in Hades. Brian David Schwartz had his opportunity to care. Instead, he wanted to pretend like I was Rain Man again. All he could focus on is Forex.com, Forex.com. He watched a video about the freeze loop. And then after that, everything was always the freeze loop. It has nothing to do with the fact that Brian Schwartz doesn't listen to anybody but Brian Schwartz. See, that's where you guys and myself end up in big arguments, is that you want to argue with me about my life. You're an idiot. I'm the one living it. You don't get to tell me what happened in my life, especially when you were not there. Some people's kids. Even my Aunt Mary wanted to do the whole plain stupid thing. It didn't matter if I told them what was going on. They heard what they wanted to hear and wanted to make it about them. Well, I was going through trying to bribe stuff down off the internet. I was gonna, no, you weren't. Every day to suit your fancy, or the rules. Or you make me do stuff by myself, and then, of course, you tell me that you were gonna do it with me. No, you weren't. Don't lie to me. You didn't. I was there, dipshit. My dad kept sending me to an office by myself to go talk to those people by myself. Meanwhile, I needed my dad to listen, but he wasn't listening at home. What was he busy doing? Telling me what to do, what to think, and what to feel, and trying to play let's make a deal. Oh, he's going to sweeten up the deal if I do what he wants. Oh, he'll sweeten up a little bit more if I do what he wants. And you know what ended up happening? I ended up losing everything. My dad still got what he wanted. What he didn't get was all that stuff off the internet. That was his choice for it to be on the internet to begin with. He could have done the right thing because it's the right thing to do, and he chose not to. That's on him. For me recording that and putting it on the internet, I tried following his rule. But he kept on changing it, kept on making it impossible, kept on wasting my time with, we have to distract Sean. Instead of listening to Sean and looking at evidence, let's distract him and talk over him and treat him like he's retarded. And then my dad thinks that sending me chump change that isn't going to help out in the least bit. Magically, I'm supposed to fold and let him win? Not a chance in Hades. I don't believe your words, I believe your actions. Lots of people said that they were going to do stuff that they never followed through with. If they'd have followed through, it would have been a lot different. But it wasn't about the truth. It wasn't about being a real dad. What was it about for Brian Schwartz? Power and control. Same as Lan England. See, for Lan England, disabilities are somehow magically legit. Mine ain't a whole lot different from hers. However, she wanted to bully me for being disabled. Bully me for it. And although her daughter was pretty decent while I was there, as soon as I left, it became some big argument and fight, and it didn't need to be. They didn't need to steal my evidence. That prevented me from having it in court. That's not okay. And they didn't work with me to get it back. I literally had to drive to Montana to get evidence that should have been shown in court in Colorado. It was supposed to be a trip down to Colorado for court and then back up to back up to Montana. But Lan Engline has power and control issues. Lots of people do. When they can treat you like you're a mentally ill retard, that allows them a lot of leeway to do whatever the hell they want. There's a lot of people, like my dad, Candace Bondurant, Lan Engline. I stopped being friends with them in 2016 when I was in Virginia. I stopped talking to them in 2016 while I was in Virginia. And if it hadn't been for Natalie's death, those people never would have been allowed back in my life because they're not good people. My dad Brian David Schwartz, cares about one person and one person only. Brian David Schwartz. And that's the way it's always been, and that's the way it'll always be. Like for me, that makes everything easier. Trust him, I already knew I couldn't. It was basically trying to prove the point. Like either I can go to people with a history taking advantage of me, or I can rely on strangers where I don't know what I'm gonna get. Complicated, huh? If I can find my thing of water in here. I am thirsty. That fact there is no doubt. When it comes to my father, he's got a lot of ideas in his head. He doesn't know how to listen. And lots of people think that talking over the victim is listening. That's absolutely not. That's where nearly everybody screwed up. The rest of them, well, they listened, sort of. As in, many of them just didn't talk while I was talking for a bit. But then when they started making suggestions, it showed that they didn't hear a thing that I had to say. It didn't actually process. Oh my God, yes. Oh, I didn't realize I still had this. I thought it was up in camp. It's nice. That's killing me though. Alright. Let's see if we have a container that I haven't peed in yet. Nope, that one hasn't been peed in. So my dad thought that I would just forget about all of the hell that I've been through because he didn't want to hear it. 6 years of hell that he didn't want to hear, and there was even a situation going on when he got a hold of me that he could have tried to do something about. But it takes actual effort, and all he was interested in was getting that stuff off the internet. No. And there's no chance in hell that I'm not going to mention you after the crap that you pulled. What are you thinking? Does he consider the $40,000 or more that ended up getting wasted because he didn't keep his word in 2019? Because he didn't want to actually be a real father still? What he wanted to do is assert power and control, as always. Then he wants to get a hold of me and tell me he's going to give me some major secret. Like, I don't need your secrets, dude. Never trust an adult who asks you to keep secrets. It's a pretty good rule to follow. Oh, come on, we can do this. All right, there we go. My dad asked for something, he's not going to get it. He had a choice. He had a choice, and so did I. I could either take it or I could expose it. I chose to expose it. No matter how he feels about it, his decisions led directly to mine. Just as Natalie's decisions led directly to mine. And Tim Beeson's decisions led directly to mine. And Joanna Taylor Smith's decisions led directly to mine. Well, all these people were thinking about was themselves. I never stopped thinking about others. I also don't want to exist anymore. You people suck. I hate sharing a planet with you because you're selfish. And you promote the greediest. The greediest among us get the most out of us, don't they? Of course they do. We give them the most rewards, don't we? I'd rather hang out with somebody in sweatpants. So one of the other businesses down here is O'Reilly's. He looked at me and said, I know what's wrong with you. I had 2 knee replacements and a hip replacement. I thought to myself, man, I hope I'm not that far along. Of course, he's still able to work, right? It's definitely a bonus, still being able to work. I kept telling myself, hey, if other people are able to do this in their condition, then I realized that my condition is not theirs. Just because somebody else is able to do it doesn't mean that I'm able to do it too. Well, I did find 50 cents, but I'm not finding a marker of any sort correctly. I'd like to go to the library and get something done there, but again, that's something that requires help. Like if I still had money to pay people to help, that would be great, but I paid people to help who didn't show up. On the bright side, when they do that, it usually means that they're not going to show up for a bit, try to hit me up for money for a while. All right. How do you like my sign? Start painting here. Mm-hmm.